Price of seemingly everything has increased dramatically over the last few years, and veterinary care is no exception. Forbes reported in December of 2022 that 42% of pet owners could not afford a surprise vet bill. As a veterinary neurologist, I'm very often surprising people with $8,000 estimates for emergency MRI and back surgery. Even CPI data as recent as August 2023 shows that veterinary services are continuing to increase in cost on an annualized basis of about 10% year over year. With constantly inflating costs of veterinary services, one industry has popped up to address this issue, and that is pet insurance. So in this video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know regarding this rapidly growing industry. Also, at the end of this video, I'm going to mention the pet insurance company that I think is probably the best one based on my personal polling of clients and other veterinarian colleagues, as well as why. But guys, before I do that, I'm gonna need you to cover the copay for this video. You can pay me via Venmo or PayPal. Alternatively, instead of a copay, you can also just hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already, because that helps grow the channel. Let's get into it. Let's talk about everything you need to know about pet insurance. What is pet insurance? Pet insurance is a health plan that the owner pays into on a monthly or annualized basis in exchange for reimbursement of eligible veterinary expenses. It's set up a little differently than human health insurance though. Anyone with their own health insurance knows that when you go to the doctor, hopefully not this doctor, you show them your insurance card and you pay what is hopefully a pretty small copay, like 25, 50 bucks, something like that. With veterinary pet insurance, it's a little bit different. When a pet is seen by a vet for a covered condition, the owner pays the vet in full and then submits a claim to their insurance company for reimbursement. That reimbursement is dictated by the terms of the policy. There is one company that I know of that will pay the vet directly, and that avoids this initial out-of-pocket cost altogether, and I'll mention this company at the end of the video. Most pet insurance plans are for dogs and cats, but a few pet insurers will offer coverage for other animals. For instance, Nationwide will offer insurance coverage for birds, reptiles, and other exotic animal species, while the ASPCA has health insurance plans that cover horses. What does pet insurance cover? The specifics of what is covered by a pet insurance policy can vary depending on the provider and the policy itself, but in general, pet insurance is meant to cover three major things: accidents, illnesses, and emergency care. Accidents include things like broken bones, dogfight injuries, skin lacerations, and other injuries resulting from, well, accidents. Accidents can happen at any time and can be very expensive to treat, especially if your pet requires hospitalization or surgery. It's not at all uncommon for accidents that involve major diagnostics like CT or MRI and major surgeries to clear the $10,000 mark in terms of total cost outlay. And that doesn't even include long-term follow-up and management of whatever happened to them. This includes illnesses like cancer, infections, endocrine disorders like diabetes and Addison's disease, and other health problems. Just like with people, pets can get sick and require a lot of treatment. Some illnesses can be very expensive to treat, oftentimes being similar to major accidents in some cases. So having a pet insurance policy in place can help to make sure that your pet gets a level of care needed to give them the best possible prognosis. Emergency care includes any care required in an emergency situation, such as hospitalization, surgery after a car accident, or emergency MRI and surgery for a disc herniation like what I do. Now, in shocking news, emergency care can be very expensive, and by definition, it's unplanned. So having pet insurance in place can literally be a lifesaver for your pet in these scenarios, especially if the insurance company pays the vet directly. Honestly, I can't even tell you how many times I've done an MRI and spinal surgery, and the only reason I was able to do that to help save the life of the pet was because the pet owner had pet insurance. People just cannot afford to spend $8,000 unexpectedly. Now, in addition to those three things, hereditary and congenital conditions are another class of problems that some pet insurance policies will cover. These include things like hip dysplasia in dogs and elbow dysplasia, things like that, spinal malformations, for instance. These conditions can be very expensive to treat as well, and having a pet insurance policy can help make sure that your pet gets the care they need without breaking the bank. Now, what is not covered by pet insurance? What's not covered by pet insurance is somewhat plan dependent, so always read the terms of your insurance policy to know this ahead of time. Sometimes pet insurance plans do not cover behavioral issues like anxiety, barking, destructive behaviors, things of that nature. Behavioral issues can be surprisingly expensive and even more frustrating to treat, so be aware of this with any plan that you decide upon. Routine or preventative care, stuff like vaccines, parasite prevention, stuff like that, is sometimes not included in a plan unless it's specified. The one type of problem, though, that is pretty much universally not covered by pet insurance plans is the dreaded pre-existing condition. This is a super important topic, so let's dive into this a little bit more. If your pet has a health condition before you purchase pet insurance, it will likely not be covered. This is because pet insurance is designed to cover unexpected medical expenses, not pre-existing conditions. Keyword there is unexpected. If something happened before and it comes back again, it's not unexpected, it's expected? Seems simple, but there's a lot of confusion and frustration that comes from this concept. So to help you with understanding what is a pre-existing condition, let's work through an example of something that I see all the time in my practice, and those are disc herniations. Let's say you, the pet owner, have a dachshund who suddenly one day begins acting painful, not wanting to move, and needs to see their primary vet. Primary vet that you go to identifies back pain as the cause of the symptoms, prescribes some pain medications and rest, and the symptoms resolve within a couple of weeks. Then let's say about 1 month later it happens again, you do some research and you discover this is very likely a herniated disc in your dog's back. You research disc herniations online and get scared about all of the bad things that can result from a herniated disc in dogs, and decide that you want to look into getting insurance to cover the cost of MRI and surgery in the future if this problem worsens. Unfortunately, it's too late to get coverage for this or any other disease that could manifest as spinal pain going forward, because this is now considered a pre-existing condition. Think of it this way: in the insurance company's eyes, the back pain that occurred a month ago was quite possibly, if not probably, due to this current problem, and thus the current problem already existed a month ago. Insurance companies will look for any and all possible symptoms in your pet's medical history and seek to assign those symptoms to a current problem. If there is any possible connection between prior symptoms and a recent disease, it could easily be considered pre-existing and thus not be covered by a plan. This is why it is so important to get your insurance as early in your pet's life as possible before they show any symptoms. For some breeds like French Bulldogs and English Bulldogs, as well as others, particularly brachycephalic breeds, who are inherently malformed by their breed standard, it's important to get pet insurance the absolute minute you get these pets. And when I say early in their life, I'm talking like 6 weeks of age or as soon as you possibly can. Now you may be wondering, how do I even go about choosing the right policy? So let's talk about that for a second. Choosing the right pet insurance policy can honestly be pretty overwhelming, but there are 3 things I consider before making a decision. These 3 things are the coverage itself, the cost, and the customer reviews of these individual companies. Make sure to carefully review what is and was not covered by the policy you are considering. Look for policies that cover accidents, illnesses, and emergency care like we talked about, because these are the big ticket items. Also, depending on the breed, hereditary and congenital conditions may need to be covered as well. French Bulldogs, I'm looking at you. But not only you, but you. But not like just you, but you. Consider the monthly premium as well as any deductibles, copays, and limits on coverage. Make sure that you can afford the policy that you are considering and that it provides adequate coverage for your pet's needs. The monthly premiums also give you a good idea how healthy the breed of dog you're getting is as a whole. The higher the monthly premium, the more claims have been filed, i.e. there's more health issues occurring within that breed. This is obviously a very broad metric, but one which I would take into consideration if you're unsure about what breed you want to get and you want to try to figure this out. You can also use this information if you're undecided on a breed of dog as part of the decision-making process. And then finally, read customer reviews and ratings for the insurance providers that you are considering. Look for feedback on the claims process, the customer service, and overall satisfaction, as well as any personal anecdotes customers are putting out there. One of the big ones you'll read about is how long it takes to get your reimbursement for your claim. This is a big stressor, as you can imagine, for most people. Some companies take longer than others, and the last thing you want to do in these stressful situations is to have to haggle with a chat bot over getting thousands of dollars that are rightfully yours based on your policy back to you. Now, so many people ask me, what company do I recommend for insurance? Whenever I ask clients and other vets which insurance company they like, there is one company that tends to come up over and over again, and that is Trupanion. Now, this is in no way a sponsored post, but the thing that seems to set Trupanion apart from the rest of the pack is the fact that they pay the hospital directly as opposed to reimbursing owners after the fact. This entirely removes the pain point of having to come up with funds in the first place and is more similar to the human model of health insurance, at least in that way. I pretty consistently hear good things about the company, and I have for a few years now. So if it were me personally, I'd probably look there first and then see if the fine details of the plan are suitable for what me and my pet need. Real quick, I just want to point out a little bit of pet financial info for your consideration. If you are fortunate enough to have the funds, an alternative to insurance in general is simply having the money to pay for it. Yes, I'm well aware of how obvious this sounds, but if you have the ability to store $10,000 in an interest-earning liquid account such as a high-yield savings account, I would just do that instead of insurance. That way you can set aside funds for an emergency, have it earn today about 5% interest year over year, and if you don't need it for pet care, you still have all of your money. In conclusion, pet insurance can be a valuable investment for pet owners. It can provide peace of mind and financial protection in the event of unexpected veterinary expenses. With a variety of policies available, it's important to carefully consider your opinions and choose a policy that provides the coverage you need at a price that you can afford. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Let me know if you found it helpful.